Well, I got 10 o'clock.
Ready to roll.
So
Who's kicking this off?
I say we start the work session for
I'll come down after we're done.
10 o'clock. Who needs
my
to?
notes.
So Brian Kellogg's not here, and
He's supposed to call in,
okay.
so I don't
think she's
know
working
if
on
he
it.
has a number for that, but we have Brian's number, so we can give to
That's
him.
who's calling me right now.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
Yeah, if he calls the main number, he'll be put in through the speaker. If he calls Becky's number.
What
Yeah.
is that number?
You can do it on the cell phone, too.
Calls and puts them on speaker, be all right.
Was it 6?
684.
Is it the 0417?
Yes.
0416. Yeah, tell her that.
Roberta, it's 684 0417.
As soon as we get him online, I guess we'll start. Because
We can start now.
we go ahead and
Let's
start.
just go ahead and start.
Yeah,
Let's get this going.
684
Let's get this going.
0417.
All right, who's going to lead it off?
Well, I guess that I helped.
Commissioner Cos requested.
Whose district is this?
This is it's the High Prairie Township
High Prairie
is
Township.
the second district, is my district. And so Roberta made contact with me.
Oh, you're fine.
No, move on.
And I had to explain that for Roberta or the two of you to actually sit and talk to any of us, you had to be in an open meeting or else we're in violation of open meeting. So we decided the best venue for doing this would be a work session so that we could have the conversation about the fire district and the future of what's going to happen by what Roberta explained to me that it appears, and I don't know anything's in stone, that Lansing and Delaware have kind of come to an agreement and are working through some of the details. And you're welcome to come up this way so that we can, you can be included if you'd like. But, so that's where we are and trying to figure out if there are any next steps that need to be taken. But we do know that we can't provide legal counsel to High Prairie Township because that's a conflict for the Board of County Commissioners.
My name is Kathleen Williams.
Hi, Kathleen.
I am the treasurer of High Prairie Township, and we're really not here to seek legal advice. We're here to see, to me, when I look at this interlocal agreement and I look at the Kansas statutes on fire districts, everything starts off with the Board of County Commissioners, the Board of County Commissioners. So we're here to seek your guidance, to enter in with discussions about concerns that we have, and kind of get some direction from you. I know that in the ILA, you have kind of more or less pushed all your powers to the fire board. But now things have changed since entities are pulling out, and our constituents, our residents, are not happy about this because they remember years ago when it was Delaware Township Fire Department and High Prairie Township and the city of Lansing was paying money into them for services. Now we're kind of going back to that. Except now the city wants to be in charge. And I feel in our discussions that we had with them that we were looking for all of our district, north, south, east, west, to the farthest of the corners. And we have a very far up north corner. And we're very concerned about those constituents because their ISO insurance is a 10, whereas most of us, maybe the highest is a 5. City's paying a 3. It's not fair to them up north to be paying taxes in and not being able, number one, to get their insurance rates down to a reasonable ISO. And the fire chief had came to our board meeting a couple of years ago requesting us to look for a site for a third firehouse. We have been saving money to build a third firehouse clear up north. Well, now the city, if we go with them, they have approved for us to build that firehouse. But I don't think they're completely on board with providing the services that need to be done there. And that is a big concern because we're looking for an all package, not an all or none. And I kind of feel like from the city, it's a take it or leave it. And, you know, those aren't very good options. And I just feel that the city knew that they had plans of pulling out ever since June of 2018 when we got that first letter. We've asked for what the plan is, what the agreement would look like, that we would be signing for agreement of service. There isn't anything down in print that we can actually look at. They've given us a proposal from what the city of Lawrence uses, but their city is much bigger. And their services probably can be more complete than what the city of Lansing, I feel, can provide at least to the residents of High Prairie Township. And that's our concern.
Well, let me ask you something. I've got something. I've seen the, and not to get argumentative with anybody, because I was the mayor when this all started.
I know.
And I sure would have liked to sit down with everybody, but that wasn't the direction the council had given me at the time. But I've read their proposal, and it looks like they're bending over backwards to accommodate the things you need. And I guess the other thing, I thought this meeting was going to be more about what...
Brian, hang on a second. Brian says he can't hear. He said she sounded like a robot, and I can barely hear.
Well,
I went out and talked to Becky, but
Same system we use every time.
Yeah, it's
so I don't know if Becky
Can-
was it.
can he respond? Is he on there now?
Brian?
Would it be better if you just called in on somebody's cell phone?
yeah, somebody's calling I'm calling a cell phone and put it
you
out
want
for
to just put
some.
on speaker on cell phone. You can put a microphone kind of
Yeah.
pointed down toward it, Linda. Like,
So I guess what we're looking for,
battery won't run
because we're trying to come, we have several different options that we have been thinking about. Yes, there's the city, but we're not sure what the agreement of service is going to be. Can we remain as Fire District 1, even though two entities have now left? And if them leaving, and we are Fire District 1, High Prairie Township,
Well,
is our board now in charge of High Prairie, or of Fire District 1? That's a question that we need to have you folks answer for us.
Okay. Well, let me back up a little bit. So since this all started, the county's involvement, I think, is the confusion here. It's protocol. Is he on there now? Is that Brian?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you hear us now, Brian?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Put the microphone.
Grab one of those mics. David's probably. Hey, David, can you stick your mic in?
It isn't.
No, one of the microphones. David's, I think, is closest.
So I heard a lot of what Kathleen was saying regarding our concerns regarding Fire District Number 1. I did officially request notification from the Fire Board, Delaware, and Lansing regarding Delaware's intent to pull out of the district, leaving High Prairie Township as the only entity within Fire District Number 1. we are looking to continue that initially and possibly work with other townships that surround High Prairie later. But initially, we'd like to form or continue with Fire District Number 1. But as you know, we sent a list of questions in. A lot of them said that we would have to seek independent legal counsel on it. But I do have some statutes that I would like some additional information on. And we also have received information from other townships and the state fire marshal and things like that. We've been trying to do as much investigation as we possibly can without having to involve legal counsel. As you all know, that just muddies the water. But if Mr. Van Paris is there, I would like some additional investigation into statute number 19-3604, which is this organization or alternate district that kind of goes into the border and the district lines.
Let me interrupt 1 second. I think, Brian, let me interrupt. I've got that in front of me, too. It says any fire district may be disorganized by the Board of County Commissioners at any time after 4 years from the date of the publication of the final resolution for their organization upon a petition. I'm going to ask our counselor, after we turned over the authority to the district, which I was in the beginning when it first started, and back then it was the best thing since sliced bread, the county waived everything from this except from maybe the boundaries, if they redid it, and also if someone petitioned to have it, and the county commissioner is the only one that can resolve that. Is that correct?
Commissioner, yes. If I could add to that, and I believe you're very familiar with this as well, but just for general information, the formation of Fire District Number 1 was initiated in 2004 by the Board of County Commissioners being approached by the City of Lansing, Delaware Township, and High Prairie Township requesting the formation of a fire district, but additionally requesting that the county specifically be removed from any management or operational control of that fire district. That Board of County Commissioners at that time agreed with that proposition, and we introduced legislation in Topeka that year. It did not pass that year. We tried again in 2005. It passed. And the interlocal agreement devolving your statutory authority over the fire district to the constituent members, that is Delaware Township, High Prairie Township, and the City of Lansing, went into effect. That is in effect as of today. The overall statute that Commissioner Mike Smith cited is still in effect, but all other aspects of control over a fire district have been devolved to the fire board through the interlocal agreement. Quite frankly, it was the request of the parties that the county not be involved in this matter. At the time, the county honored their request, and unless you wish to change that course of action, that's the premise I'm operating under.
And that's what I started to say is, I think the confusion here.
Wait a minute. Go ahead, Brian.
I'm sorry. In regards to that and the Board of County Commissioners eliminating their governing positions over the fire district, the fire board itself, if we have two entities that have pulled out, the fire board is dissolved, correct?
Well, Mr. Kellogg, I need to clear something up. You earlier stated that you did not want to have legal counsel involved in this discussion so that it wouldn't muddy the waters, but now you're asking me for legal opinions.
Okay, well, as a paid employee of the governing body of Leavenworth, I assume that you would oversee the townships as well. So I thought that maybe. And
that's where the confusion comes in. Brian, can you hear me?
Those are the townships.
Hold on a second, Brian.
Brian,
Hold on a second.
say something.
And I think that's exactly where the confusion is coming from. So in the beginning, the protocol is if a couple fire districts want to make a joint fire district with a city or a couple other townships, that's fine. But the protocol is the county commission has to initiate that and make that happen. That's about as far as our involvement gets. We have an ambulance service. The county has a sheriff's department, but the county does not have a fire department. And I think that's what this is being twisted into mistakenly, is that the county has some kind of involvement in this fire district. We do not. Just creating the district itself is the protocol by statute. That's it. You guys contacted the county and said, hey, we have to go through you to create this multi-jurisdictional fire department. That's what the law says. That's what we did. But we did not get into the fire district business. That's why you have a fire board on top of the township boards and the city council. That's the board for the fire department. That's the actual fire department. The county has no authority or responsibility or governing rules over this.
So my understanding then, come January 1, 2025, if we remain Fire District 1, we are in control of it. The city's gone. Delaware Township has signed its agreement.
You're what's left of Fire District 1.
Yes. So we're the governing body.
Yes, the county
So
has
our
nothing
board,
to do with it.
Well, that's one of our options that we wanted clarified, because right now there's a fire board.
Well, I think y'all too. Make sure. I think y'all still are in the process, and I only know this because I was there back then. The process is a lot of equipment and stuff that has to be gone through to see who gets what because of the percentages. So yeah, I think saying you would be Fire District 1 and y'all could bring in anyone you wanted to, I wouldn't have a problem with.
What about the taxing on that?
Can't be double taxed.
Well, but I'm just saying, are people is the fire district collecting taxes now for the whole area?
Yes.
Even though so
up
until
December
people have
31.
actually pulled out and there's contracts, but at the end of the day, it's just going to be the township is going to be the border of the fire district.
So what we're trying to say, and I can tell by the list of questions that Brian turned in, you guys think that the county can tell you what to do or fix the problems, and the county is not in that position. You guys are your own fire district. We turned it over. As soon as all we had to do is say, yes, you can form a fire district, and that was it. That's it. Approve the boundaries, we're done.
Yep.
You guys handle it, you guys run it, you guys work it out.
Is that how you did it with Fire District 2?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's exactly.
Okay.
All we do is by statute, if you want to form a joint fire district, you ask the county commissioners to do that,
And
they
they
did
did-
it for you, and then we're done.
And they did,
hired an
Fire
expert.
District 2 did look over the old contract Fire 1, and there was a couple, and I can't remember what they were, that were changed, because you tweak things as you go along. But the whole content of the entire thing was exactly the way. We have no control over it, nor do we want control over it. That's your guys' taxing entity, and y'all take care of it however you want.
And that's what the separate fire board, you know how there's the townships and the city council, and there's the Fire District 1 board.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that is for. That's what you think we are. That Fire District board is what you're thinking that we can do or have the authority to do or are supposed to do.
I think we think of you as the fourth peg
And we're not.
in this ILA.
And we're not.
Okay.
All we did is help you form the board, and we can help you dissolve the
That's
board.
clarification that we needed.
Yeah, form the board, approve the boundaries, and then if you want to
So
dissolve.
you're just like that.
Exactly right.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I said, we have an EMS department. The county runs an EMS department. The county runs the sheriff's department. The county does not run any fire department whatsoever.
So can I ask our legal counsel clarification question? We wrote these agreements so that these fire districts would have this autonomy. They could have been written differently had the Board of County Commissioners decided to have more control. We could have written it differently, but we've written it to give a lot of autonomy to the fire districts. Is that
Commissioner,
is that correct?
I can speak from recollection. Yes, it could have been written differently, and the townships and the city would not have signed it.
Yeah. But
Well, and I
the
think
bottom
the other
line is that
confusion-
that's
we gave
correct,
them a lot of
That is correct.
That is correct. I remember it.
yeah.
And I think the other confusion comes with, in the beginning, we were trying to help you guys. In the very beginning, I asked the city, how are you going to dissolve this without raising taxes of the people that live in the city limits? Because you're going to have to build another firehouse. You're going to have to buy more equipment, because if you dissolve, you don't get that firehouse and all that equipment. And I asked the townships, if you dissolve, how are you going to keep people's ISO rating low? Because you're not going to have a full-time fire department anymore. I asked all those questions in the very beginning, and we got involved trying to help work things out. I think that probably caused a confusion of you guys thinking the county has some kind of authority here,
And then it went
which,
to litigation.
which we do not.
Yeah.
Commissioners, we weren't involved in any of that. We weren't invited to any of that. We weren't,
Were you there from the beginning of this?
yeah.
Invited to what? I mean, I'm just talking about I would go to meetings.
That information was not shared.
Well, I would
Put it that way.
Well, I would go, and I think Vicki went to a couple township fire department meetings and a couple city meetings, and yeah, that's. I mean,
I did. I went to one.
I'm not sure what you mean when you weren't invited.
Well, we had a meeting in Lansing at the community center.
At the
No,
middle
at
school.
Chambers.
At the middle school.
Oh, we had one.
No, it was at the,
There was one at the middle school, too.
Yeah, there's one at the
With
middle
the
school
chambers,
too. Though,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Were you at that one at the middle
well,
school?
it got out of hand.
Yeah.
I didn't attend.
Yeah,
That's exactly why I did not
Whatever it
attend.
was, it got out of
Yeah.
hand.
Yes, I agree. I agree.
And
Yeah.
Nothing could be talked.
It was,
Yeah.
Yeah, but even at that meeting, like I'm saying, we didn't have any authority to tell you guys what to do or jurisdiction or anything. We were just trying to help. We're just trying
But
to
you
work
have
it
to
out.
the mediation
The Board of
here.
County Commissioners created it, and it has the right to dissolve it. So
That's it.
How do we,
Right.
That's
how
it.
do
We have the power, the authority
Okay,
by
but-
protocol to create it, but we don't manage it. We don't.
What reassurance do we have that you're not going to just say, no, you're not?
You have to be petitioned by it, you guys. We
You
can't
have
do
to
it.
tell
you
us
ask
to.
us to dissolve.
You tell us to do that. You told us to
Oh,
create it,
okay.
and you
All
tell
right.
us to
That's
dissolve it.
Yeah.
We're not going to dissolve it without you guys asking us to.
And it's a state statute, too.
I
We
don't
can't
think
do
this
it.
board supports
Oh, I
fire
took the
districts.
statute right here.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're just trying to
Then-
help.
then you
I think
know.
that's where it got confused, that we had some authority to.
Well, I kind of feel this way. If we would have sat down months ago and had this conversation, we wouldn't be here today.
Oh.
We wouldn't have wasted all the taxpayers' money on lawyers and all the time that was involved. This could have been peacefully handled,
It-
but nobody would talk to us.
But it wasn't. and it went-
Right. Vicki, you did a wonderful job, and you answered the questions as best you could without any litigation or anything. And Mike, we're not out to see you. We've already spent enough tax money frivolously.
Yeah.
We're done.
And the courts
glad
decided,
to hear
so
that.
it's over.
Yeah.
So, I have a question. You guys, in the last number of years, there's been, we had a meeting early on, like 2019 or 2020, when we had a whole bunch of folks in here from these districts. I remember it. And
Yeah, we were
one of the
trying
question
to
was
settle.
about how much taxpayer resources were expended on litigation. Do you have any kind of, since you're the treasurer, like in the last 3 years, how much, or going back 5 years, wherever the line is, how much has High Prairie Township spent taxpayers' money on litigation expense?
I would say it's anywhere from 25 to 30,000.
And then, I know at our last meeting we had
Don't
like
have
this, you start multiplying that, you're one little piece, then you add the next piece, and everybody's hired lawyers, and you got various government entities, now they're all suing each other, and we're getting nowhere.
One thing I wanted to
Exactly,
ask.
except
in
we're
the
not
meeting-
getting any helping the fire protection.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to ask
Frivolous.
before we were done today is, have you guys reached out to Alexandria Township when you were talking about joining maybe with another township?
That we're going to have a good base and stay within our means with a little help here and there. We are talking, nothing set in stone, nobody has agreed to anything, but we are hoping that Alexander, Kickapoo, Easton, Fort Leavenworth, one of them, two of them, however many want to come join us.
Fort Leavenworth can.
Well, not Fort Leavenworth,
Yeah.
but anyway.
I just know
And also
Alexander is
use the
struggling.
Assisted and mutual.
Yeah, I just know Alexandria Fire Department was struggling over the last 10 years, and it would
What
make
fire
perfect
department
sense.
hasn't?
Right, but more so than the rest of them, and that's why I was wondering. They were out of volunteers. I mean, it was bad. So they would be probably the most logical partner.
So if we decide to stay,
They're only half
Fire
the township,
District
too.
1, and we bring in other townships from the Kansas statute, it sounds like we will have to come back to you folks
Yeah.
Just to
redraw
create
the
it.
boundaries.
Right. And then that's all we do. We don't manage it. We don't tell you what to
Boundaries,
do.
you're right.
Who draws
Then I
that?
think that needs to be
You got
put in the ILA that way.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
The new ILA, if we ever bring people in, it needs to state what your responsibilities are
What?
in that, so that we're not always coming and knocking at your door
Yeah.
for guidance or
Make it
discussions
clear.
or whatever.
Yeah.
We'll know where you stand.
Make it clear. Yeah. Yeah, we'll make sure we make that clear. Tim, did you
Tim, you have
have something?
something?
If these guys are done, I'm happy to give kind of just a quick status update.
Okay. Did you guys have anything else you wanted to bring up too?
Brian, do you have any more discussion?
Brian, do you have anything else?
Go ahead,
No,
Tim.
that's, I'm going to watch it online as well, the lag. I think that we got the answers that we need. We're going to come back to the commissioners to reform the boundaries. And then we're going to talk as a board amongst our proceed regarding the continuance of fire district number 1.
Okay.
Did you hear that? He
Yeah.
wants to continue as Fire District 1. We will come back to you as
Redraw the boundaries.
we need to, and for assistance on adding people or whatever. We hope we have your support. Fire protection is very important to us. It should
Absolutely.
be to everybody, and especially to the officials.
Yeah,
Everybody's life is important.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Tim's turn.
Yeah.
And so, in drawing these boundaries, can we seek the GFI guide?
GIS?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could use the GIS department.
And use the map, because I know there's an interactive map online.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Any resources we have that help you accomplish what you want to do is fine. We just want to make sure you guys know.
I want to step in.
Okay.
there.
Yeah, to a certain extent.
First off,
Sure.
if we accept requests from anybody, and the GIS can do them or they already exist, we'll provide them.
Mhm.
However, county staff does not work for the townships or any private citizen. So if they have a request, they can submit it as long as it's something we can do that's in our normal operations.
Yeah, I'm assuming it wouldn't be anything more than them just using the resources that
Since
we
they pretty
got.
much have to be by township, the township
Yeah.
maps already
Yeah.
exist.
Yeah.
Pretty straightforward. I
Yeah.
just want to make sure that we're not committing to something too far involved. Secondly, as they form those, like Reno Township did recently, and they had their own legal counsel to help them draft those documents, submitted them to the county, we reviewed back and forth, created it. So just want to be careful to say that we don't do that for other entities. They have to get their own legal counsel for that.
Yeah, I'm just assuming you mean, the GIS department has maps of parcel boundaries, township boundaries, right-of-ways. So you're going to need that to create your boundaries. So, yeah, that's
Yeah.
all available information from our county GIS department.
We don't want to monopolize
Right,
employees,
right.
that's for sure.
Sure, yeah.
You know, that's.
But I think we kind of want to stick to the Kansas statutes where it says where the Board of Commissioners will have to advertise in the newspaper with the new map. And how many times? I think it's 3 times you have to do it
3.
within a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
And so this all should, and of course they have so many days to respond to petition.
Yeah.
So
But you guys
we're
will
going
create
to
the
need to
boundaries.
get started on.
Yeah. But we don't create the boundaries, though. You guys create the boundaries and then tell us that's what you want, and then we do the protocol. and
Well, for right
advertising.
now, it'll be High Prairie Township area.
Right.
So I mean, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
If we go off on our own.
Right.
And I do believe that the interlocal agreement is intact. We're following it. It was agreed upon that we follow this until December 31st. Delaware has not turned in a letter, and it clearly states in the state statutes that every entity has to provide an intent, a letter of intent,
By a
to
certain
both
date.
to the other entities
Yeah.
that they're vacating. Their 18 months is ticking.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
No, it's not ticking until the letter's
Till they
received.
But
Have a letter of
can,
intent.
but can the fire
Yeah.
district,
I was just giving you
Yeah.
yeah, but
that.
could the fire district vote to allow them to leave early?
Yes.
Commissioners,
Yes, sir.
it is not with pleasure that I continually tell you folks I can't help you.
Right, I'm sorry.
Okay. However, I represent you and I offer you counsel. I could suggest to you that you offer the following advice to Delaware Township, High Prairie Township, and to the city of Lansing. Currently, these are the documents that I have regarding the potential or the impending dissolution of the existing Fire District Number 1 and possible reformation of a Fire District Number 1. I would suggest to the party, or you could suggest to the parties, it's in everyone's interest that this does not turn into that, which was the last litigation that was involved in this, which I would suggest cost the taxpayers half of a fire truck.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So cooperation between the townships and the city created Fire District Number 1. Cooperation between the townships and the city is the best way to reform Fire District Number 1 into a new entity.
So,
Yeah.
question.
Go ahead.
On when we're talking about this and we have the upcoming budget cycle coming up, is there any press for time on the?
Well, Commissioners, under state statute, a fire district has to be formed prior to July 1 of the year preceding the tax year upon which it can levy taxes. I would suggest the deadline for July 1 to reform Fire District Number 1, it's not viable. So if a new fire district were formed, there's a question as to whether it would have any taxing authority for fiscal year 2025, or perhaps a reconfigured Fire District Number 1 might have that taxing authority already in place. But those are matters that would have to be studied. Your responsibility for their budget is non-existent. We could add one word to any future interlocal agreement creating a fire district, and it would be the county's responsibility is none.
So if all that's going to be left of Fire District 1 is High Prairie Township, what use is it to continue with the fire district? It could just be High Prairie Township.
Wouldn't it be easier to add another township to it if it was Fire District 1?
Commissioners,
That's up to
I
them.
prefer not to speculate, but generally, the intent of the parties controls what can be done. It's the intent of the parties.
Excuse me.
Tim, did you have something you wanted to add?
I was just going to give kind of a status update.
Okay, sure. Let's do that.
Is everyone okay? So this was we had a lot of really positive meetings. We worked with High Prairie, and I was going to pass these out though, sorry.
I'll get them.
They just can't hear you if you're not in the mic
Robbie. Got it.
online.
We had had a few meetings, I think, in February, March, and early April. Had some good discussions.
What'd you say?
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead,
Brian
Tim.
wants to ask a question.
Okay.
Go.
Tell them to hold on a minute.
And again,
Tell them to hold on.
Tell them to hold on a
I'm
second.
a little late.
Brian, can you hold on a minute until Tim gets finished?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead, Tim.
Just a couple of things, because I was under the impression that the meetings were going pretty well. If you guys look at that contract, all three parties agreed to paragraph 11, adding that in there. All three parties agreed to paragraph 12, adding that in there.
Adding what in where?
So this was what I sent you guys in April. So just to clarify, I mean, we do have a willingness to work with High Prairie. If they do want to go off in their own direction, we wish them well. We've had positive meetings with Delaware Township as well. We talked about having like a dashboard on there. That's paragraph 7, kind of talking about the standards of fire protection. Another thing that's coming up, I think most government agencies received American Rescue Plan Act funds. The city has about $400,000 remaining from that. We're planning to purchase fire equipment with that. So that's something we have coming up. We're including 9 mills in our budget this year, so that's why the timing of this was a good thing. And as a part of that too, if we do partner with Delaware, I think we'd spoken with them about 9 mills from them as well. So I think they had said it earlier, and it is accurate. For years and years, the city of Lansing contracted with Delaware Township for fire protection. It's kind of the same agreement that we're proposing. Pretty common all over, common in Bonner Springs, common in Lawrence. I have like 10 different copies of cities that service townships with fire protection. So pretty common. But anyway, we are working on our budget right now. We're including 9 mills on that. And I guess that's kind of it. So we'd love to work with High Prairie.
With number 13, where you talk about Delaware and High Prairie Township shall at all times save and hold harmless the city from all liabilities, cost, damage, blah, 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 all the way down to its employees or officials. If we sign a contract for agreement for service, we don't have the employees.
Okay.
You will have the employees.
So we wouldn't be able to sue your employees, and you don't have any. So if you want to reword that, we're fine with that. That was standard legal contract from the city of Lawrence. So if you want to change that, we're happy with that.
But I don't see how they can get by with that, because if we're signing, to me, that it just doesn't make sense.
It's a whole harmless clause. If you look at contracts, they're in the vast majority of contracts. It's basically saying we're not suing each other.
And here's the issue before us today for this work session. This is exactly the conversation you guys need to have. The problem is we don't need to be part of those conversations. Because like I said from the beginning,
No, that's true.
We can't
this was our work session.
Yeah. We can't police what you guys want to work out or don't want to work out. We're more than happy to help you what we can help you with. But I think it's the misconception that because the state statutes say we have to form the committee and we have to file the boundaries and we have to dissolve the committee is where the confusion comes in. As far as running it, we have nothing to do with running it.
And I had a question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Being this has been through litigation and there was going to be a division of assets, has that taken place yet?
Not yet.
No.
We have brought in our own assessor. He has gone through the whole fire district down to the very last piece of equipment. And we have that. And we paid over $16,000 to have that done.
So it has been done?
Ours has.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Ours, the buildings are done, but not the equipment.
Okay, so you're working on the division of assets, and then you all have to get together and agree on that?
Well, we'll probably have to get him moderator.
Okay.
I'm sure there might be some arguing.
That's the unfortunate part. We wish we could help with that part too, but it seemed like the
know.
more we got involved, the worse it got. So I think we should probably
Brian, are
just.
you ready for your questions?
Yes, and I just want to reiterate that at no time is this a battle between Lansing, Delaware, and High Prairie. We're just choosing to possibly maintain fire district number 1. Going back to the July 1st deadline, on July 1st, we have to have this submitted. If we go to the High Prairie Township
Fire department?
District 1, but use the High Prairie Township border, there's no need to reform a district, so that should resolve that, and that should take any kind of taxing entity question out of the mix, correct?
I couldn't hear anything he said. I was trying.
Okay, speak up a little louder.
Is this mic on?
Yeah, you got to put it right against it, and the speaker is not in the middle of the phone; it's at the bottom.
There.
There you go.
We are not reforming a district. We are just continuing the district with a smaller border. It's going to be High Prairie Township's border. So with that being said, the taxing portion and the taxing entities will fall within that border as far as when we re-establish the boundary lines on fire district number 1. We're not redeveloping a district, we're just reorganizing it. So that should allow us to proceed if we need to without any major reconstruction of the district, because we're not changing districts. We have two entities pulling out of the district.
Yeah, the new boundaries will be just High Prairie Township instead of Delaware Township, City of Lansing, and High Prairie Township.
Correct.
According to the statute, Brian,
That is correct.
they'll do that.
And like I said before, GIS has High Prairie Township boundaries maps.
So
that'd be
Commissioner
easy.
Stevens said that it has to be revamped before July 1st, and that's less than 30 days.
Well, no, I didn't. I was asking the legal counsel about that, and I think he said that it's too late for that.
So
It'd be too late to
if we
create a new fire district. My earlier comments did reference, you do have the authority to, upon petition, adjust the alter
Just the boundary.
Fire district number 1.
Yeah.
Upon petition.
Yeah.
So their legal counsel would have to draft a change in the agreement and bring it to us.
To even go to the.
Just a
township
change in the
board.
boundaries.
The word petition is used broadly in that statute. There's no specific form. I would suggest a request that the boundaries of fire district number 1 be altered would suffice to meet the criteria of petition. There's also the criteria, though, of land ownership involved. So I would suggest the parties to carefully look at 1936 on form.
I did have a question for the city. How much, and it's sort of the same thing, how much money has the city spent on litigation expenses over the past 3 to 5 years?
If I had to guess, roughly from the start of this, maybe $80,000.
$80,000.
80, yep.
And then on the
Is that per lawyer, or-
you're doing this assessment process too. You're also involved in this assessment process of equipment.
Correct.
How much
So
have you contracted that out to be done by an outside group? How much does that come to?
around 10, maybe slightly more than 10.
So, thank you.
Okay. Anybody have anything else you want to add to that?
Anything else,
Councilmember.
Brian?
With regards to a fire chief, since the current one has provided his letter of resignation, and since High Prairie Township will be the only entity left in Fire District 1, does that give us the authority to hire our own fire chief?
That's not a question we can answer.
Well, yeah, again, we don't have
Well,
any
my main-
authority
my main
over
que-
any of that,
My
so
main question.
Who do we take that to?
your attorney.
You have counsel?
Not yet. But does the fire board, do we make them aware of that? Because technically,
How do normal volunteer township fire departments get created?
Townships are townships. They stand alone. They're their own governing entity.
So you're,
What you have here is unique because of the interlocal agreement that they have that creates the joint board. So how they handle that, they're going to have an attorney evaluate what the standing of the current interlocal agreement is. But townships are still townships. They're still legal entities in the state of Kansas. They govern themselves. It's just how it plays into this interlocal agreement. So that's not a question that we can answer.
yeah. The uniqueness here is that you're really just regressing to a township fire department, like Kickapoo Township Fire Department, Easton Township Fire Department. You're going to be High Prairie Township Fire Department, but you've created this joint Fire District 1. You're all that's left of it, or going to be. You can either dissolve the High Prairie or the consolidated Fire District 1 and become just a High Prairie Township Fire Department, but your attorney's going to have to tell you all that. I'm just not wanting to give you legal
Did you have
advice.
anything else,
One
Brian?
counsel to you, in order to avoid this,
Mm-hmm.
the interlocal agreement can be amended by agreement between the parties to include dissolution of that interlocal agreement. So it's the intent of the parties that controls your fate.
And that's where I was headed with, would it be easier if Alexandria, for instance, wanted to join with you to leave Fire District 1 intact even though it's just High Prairie, would that be easier to join another township with them, or do they want to just get rid of the Fire District 1 and become?
Well, Commissioners, the interlocal agreement did not create Fire District Number 1. It created an obligation on the part of the county to form Fire District Number 1 under certain limitations. So they can be separated. The interlocal agreement, as it currently exists, does not necessarily need to control any of the parties in the future. And if all of the parties agree that the interlocal agreement should be nullified, they have the power to do so. Of course, you would have to consent to it as well because you're a signatory. But the intent of the parties controls their fate, and that fate is in their hands.
Yeah. I'm just thinking if you got to readjust the boundaries to reduce it to just High Prairie, leave Fire District 1 intact, then if you wanted to add another township, you just readjust the boundaries again instead of starting from scratch.
Agreed.
So it's
But you have to look at
up to you.
taxing deadlines also.
Yeah, that's
Because
up and
here,
down.
we're getting ready to do their budgets, and it's too late to pull Alexandria in
For this
there
year.
at this point.
For this year.
And so,
And we're not even close to even
Right,
entering with
right.
it.
I'm just throwing
we're
out.
just trying to, if we stay in Fire District 1, and we're the only entity left, we just want to know who's ruling it, who's got the control, who can make decisions, who can pick and
Not for us
choose.
to talk about.
Yeah, it's not us.
How does our budget develop?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, granted, July 1st is going to be here before we know it.
well, you guys are going to
You
do
do.
values next week, and R&R has to go out. There's a lot that has to be done. And I just want to make sure that we're doing it legally.
Right.
That we tax the High Prairie citizens as Fire District Number 1. We want to make sure that if the agreement is completed, that Delaware is officially out of Fire District Number 1, because it all makes a difference on the way these entities do their budget. The
So,
City of Lansing followed all of the, regulations as far as them getting out of it in the statute. So, we've put the 9 mills in for their budget. But it was important to look at the townships, whether I leave Fire District Number 1 on them, or if we tax the citizens of Delaware Township with just the 9 mills in the contract with the City of Lansing.
okay.
That's
Don't
them.
they have to get out of the interlocal agreement with the 3 entities before they can enter another
Guys,
contract?
stay away from this.
That's what I would question.
This,
Yeah.
this is their attorney.
Yeah, not a question for us, unfortunately. Like I said, we'd love to help. We just are not in the position.
I understand
to
it, but just logic. I mean,
Yeah.
You don't want us to be armchair lawyers.
true,
So,
true.
but I guess if they did collect taxes, wouldn't it just be whenever the assets are divided, that would be part of it? The township tax money that the township pulled out.
Yeah.
I didn't
Our
hear what he
conversation.
said.
Yeah.
Our conversation.
What do you think, Nancy?
Did Dan?
I guess we're
add
done.
something?
Councilman,
Well,
Well,
nope.
you ladies going to have a direction where is there anything like with the county that's confusing to you right now, or?
No, you made it very clear what your position is. So-
You're out.
And that's what we wanted. That's what we needed to know. So that if we start looking at our options, and if we choose course C, we can go forward as our own governing
Right.
body.
If
And
we
that's
would have
what we
known
needed
this
to
3
know.
years ago, it would have helped.
Yeah.
But known that you were out. A lot of money could have been spent better off on fire protection
If-
and a
If
lot
you want to
of
form,
places.
if you want to form a fire district, we're here to help you. If you want to file the boundaries, we're here to help you. If you want to dissolve it, we're here to help you. But running
Other
it,
than that, we can't
running
help
it, yeah, we're not.
Yes.
Dan, you have something?
Yeah, there was a statement
Okay.
concerning the contract with Delaware. And
There's another
I think
guy to
there's been some misconceptions. When Delaware came to us and we massaged what had already been worked between all 3 entities, it was that prior to that we were told that y'all were ceasing all communications until you talked with the county. and we understood that and we respected it. What Delaware wanted to do was continue doing the modifications without taking anything out, and we have included everything that High Prairie has asked.
Mm-hmm.
And I assure you that we're here to work with you if you decide to come into our organizations contractually, and if I can help you personally on whatever decision you make, I'll give you that. I've got a lot of friends out in High Prairie, and they're just as much a citizen to me as the people that live within the boundaries of Lansing.
I appreciate that.
And whatever we can do within the powers that I've got, either as a council member or as a person, I'm here to help you. I've got a lot of contracting, so I got deep into the contract because I'm an acquisition corps officer, and I'll lend you my expertise. But rest assured, we would love to have you join us if that's your decision.
The thing is, we're also listening to our residents.
And I was fixing to say that in the next citizen.
And, this isn't just Roberta's, Brian's, and my decision. It's our residents that have come to our meetings that have expressed their feelings, their anger about this whole situation. There is a trust factor that
but make sure
I don't know how that can be fixed.
I don't know either.
And I don't know how the city can reassure the residents of High Prairie Township of that.
I got started with this at the middle school. It got out of hand. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
And we appreciate
and that is my starting point with the fire district and the fire station and all that. And I think a lot of things could have been handled better.
And I think part of the confusion also is people are paying taxes, and they're not exactly sure where that tax money goes, and it's assumed that since they're paying taxes, it goes to the county, and that's why the county should have some authority over what's going on. But the tax money that's collected for fire districts from the city or the townships doesn't come to us or through us or anything. They're their own taxing entity. So the fire district townships are on their own, the city's on their own. The county has nothing to do with the taxes that you're paying for fire protection.
And we've already agreed to everything that you want as far as where the money's stored, how's it handled, and it'll be audited underneath the city audit requirements. But we stand ready to help you whatever your decision is. Okay, well, we don't want to end with anything except being friends.
Well,
okay, I don't want any hard feelings. Whatever you decide, both professionally and personally.
Well, paragraph 12, totally rewritten.
Well, then we get rid of it.
So,
it's easy.
Yeah.
But I think we've made our decision. We're happy with our decision, and we're going to give it our best shot to do what's right for the people of High Prairie. And we've got a lot of residents out there that have come to us and say, we back you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that's about all we can do for you today. Is there?
Brian has one question he wants clarified.
Okay.
I understand.
Okay.
But
and then we're going to wrap this up.
We've gotten calls. We've gotten people come to our meetings. And
I'm not asking you to do anything other than what you're doing.
Yeah.
I'm just simply saying we're here to help.
Okay, Brian's got one question to clarify, and then we're going to wrap this up. Go, Brian.
And maybe this is for Janet, but I couldn't really hear regarding the taxing authority for High Prairie, Delaware, Lansing. When will that change? When will that take effect? So if Delaware, which I don't know if we've received I've asked the fire board, I've asked Delaware for the actual official intent to leave the district. I have not received one. But with the interlocal agreement contract, they have to provide us that in writing. 18 months from that period is when they are terminated or excluded from the ILA. But if we are our own board, our own council, and for this fire district number 1 now, when do the taxing authorities change so Delaware doesn't get
I understand
for fire district number 1 and for their contractual agreement with Lansing?
Yeah, that's a legitimate question, Brian. I understand what you're saying. The rate that everybody in Fire District 1 is paying on their taxes for fire protection was based on the three entities being a conglomerate. When does that change is what he's asking, is the amount that people are paying. So,
Well, first of all, we would never double tax someone. We are not going to double tax Delaware Township residents with Fire District Number 1 and add this 9 mills to their general fund to be in the contract with the city of Lansing. But though that question is exactly why I wanted to be part of this conversation. You know, because in doing your budgets, you know, we want to do the right thing. We want to meet the right deadlines. And actually, Brian, that, you know, that question has been what I've been worried about too.
Yeah.
How do I tax them for this year?
yeah, basically, if Lansing buys a new fire truck, we don't want High Prairie Township people helping pay for it.
I absolutely know that you would never double taxation. I just want to make sure that when it's a break, it's a clean break. We're battling two things. We're battling a budgetary issue along with an interlocal agreement between two different entities now, since Lansing already provided their letter of intent to withdraw from the district. We are not withdrawing from the district. We're remaining district number 1, but Delaware has that time frame of 18 months per the interlocal agreement. And when the budgets are started, when does that take effect? Because we can start moving forward from this point forward with hiring of a chief and everything else, and we'll work out the current fire board issues amongst ourselves, because it doesn't sound like there's going to be a fire board any longer. But the main thing I'm concerned with is the taxing entity portion of this, making sure we're falling in line with state regulatory and county regulatory borders.
I have the same question. I know it sounds, but I know.
Well, it sounds like
I'm going to have to check it out.
Well, we have to be until it's over.
That's right.
But we extended our 18 months to 31
Well, I think
December.
that's important.
Right.
So it wouldn't cause this problem on taxation with that. We wouldn't break at the financial point, which
Correct.
starts 1 January 25.
But I think it was not until we went back and revisited
Is that our answer?
ILA that we called the 18-month withdrawal.
Understand.
Now,
Which is-
whether they submit that now and when they start their clock, or whether we come together,
Well, I think you're going to have to work with the clerk to find out what
well,
the
that's what we all
answer
want.
is.
That's
Yeah.
what I think.
You know?
It's like pulling a Band-Aid off. You know, if you do it quicker, the pain will last shorter.
Which I'm sure is part of why the deadlines are so long, 18 months, because you have to give townships time to turn in their budgets for the next year and adjust.
Well, currently, I'm
what they're
not getting
doing.
any response from the board chair or from my peer over at Delaware, and that's not a slight against them. Maybe they don't want to for legal reasons, and I could completely understand that, but we're trying to be as good of partners as we possibly can. We already went through the legal process. We don't want to have to go through that again. We probably will have to when there's a division of assets. Someone's going to have to split the baby. But with all that being said, we would like to rip this Band-Aid off. Mike Stackhouse has provided his letter of resignation. We have not heard anything from the fire board in the replacement of a fire chief or the current hiring process for a new chief, probably because it's going to fall under the city of Lansing, and I understand that, but we as a township need to know the leadership position and how we move forward with that. But the biggest question I wanted to leave here today is the board not responding only because there's no longer a board? Did the board get a letter of intent from Delaware? Does Delaware plan on sending that letter of intent this week so we can get the ball rolling and rip this Band-Aid off? and we can always negotiate the time frame of the termination process. More than happy to do that, as long as we can all agree on the asset division and and making sure that we're in line step with Janet regarding budgetary concerns and taxation.
And that's all stuff for you guys to work out. So you come back to us and let us know if you want us to change your boundaries or if you want to dissolve. That's really all we can help you with.
All right, that's all we have time for, Brian.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for taking our time.
He thanks you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
Our questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody has anything else?
Commissioners, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you guys
Thank you.
for your time.
Clear as mud.
Well, man,
That. We vote on just dissolving the meeting?
We're done.
We're done.
Done.
Meeting's over.
Meeting's over. I didn't know if we had to.
No.
Nope.